It's got to be
wrap up all this medical stuff.
sufficient in vitamin B.
Sufficient in vitamin D. Not like you need to lose any weight, right?
No, she
just need some energy.
Woo! I'm so excited.
And it just
I'll see you on set, Tammy.
Welcome back this week, The Naked Doctor Show. I'm Dr. Tammy.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Allie. We have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about all things supplements. You know, so many times people ask me, what's a good supplement? How do you know if it's good? I see people, it's funny, in Walmart or, you know, other stores, and they just look completely lost.
Yeah,
and
I feel that way sometimes.
Yeah, it's like, what do I need?
all the time
what
too.
do I want? And, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit on the whiteboard segment today about fortified versus enriched foods. So a lot of times people think, well, there's plenty of vitamins or whatever in the foods that we eat. And so there's a real false sense of security with that because we think everything's fortified. And that's just not the case. So, you know, and then we don't eat our vegetables. And I know you, Allie, you eat out the rainbow.
I do eat the rainbow.
You're a good cook too.
I am.
Hey,
I like it.
Why don't you bring more food up to the
I
the
need
clinic,
to do
man?
that more, guys. I know.
Yeah.
I'm so
I've been
over
slacking.
Here, over here starving. Tammy brought me some
Yeah.
McDonald's chicken nuggets today.
Ooh, I read an article
kidding,
about
I
that
didn't
today.
Just get that
Yeah.
What did you read about it?
Yeah.
Do I
just
want to
about
hear
all
it?
Probably not.
Yeah,
Probably not. And I don't want to have any hate mail on anything anay.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
Lainey
just
saw
a
you eating
messenger.
them, and she's like, I don't even think there's chicken in there.
It pretty much tasted like what did I say? A fair funnel cake.
Funnel
Like
cake.
you know, a funnel
Oh, yeah,
cake.
the
like
sugar
a
in there,
soggy,
yeah.
like a soggy funnel cake.
Yeah.
The outside of the chicken.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
But it's probably enriched with vitamins.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And chicken's good for you, right?
You know, it's kind of crazy because sometimes people ask me too, people get confused about the difference between vitamins and supplements. So supplements are basically supplementation with vitamins, nutrients, or minerals. So not everything's a vitamin that you take, right? And not all vitamins are actually just vitamins. A lot of vitamins are actually hormones like vitamin D. Of course, I have to get that little hormone
It
plug
is,
in.
yeah. I didn't know that until one of the times we pulled labs, and it's it's categorized under that heading.
Yeah.
And it's the B,
Oh,
B
that's a
also,
hormone?
right?
No, B vitamins are
Just
vitamins, yeah.
Okay, just kidding. Just D.
Yeah, just D. But yeah, a lot of times people don't know different things about that, or they don't know the terminology, and that's kind of important. And it's so funny because I've had so many doctors that I've trained under, medical doctors. I've actually heard them tell patients, you don't need supplements or you don't need vitamins, which are, you know, all sorts of different supplements. That's just crazy because there's no way. It's like you're able to eat some chicken McNuggets because you work out and you take supplements. You know, like I cheat sometimes, you know, and I do work out, but I don't always eat the best. But because of the supplements I take, I know what I'm getting. And if you're trying to get it from enriched or fortified foods, you can't. So it's like,
You got to get the nutrients somehow, and and it's hard to get your daily balance of whatever and know what foods to give you what you know, vitamins and nutrients that you actually need. Well, I mean, unless you're Allie, because Allie's got all that info.
Yeah. Well,
You good with that with food, but-
I've read too that when you consume frozen vegetables, that they freeze them so quickly that they can almost have more vitamins than some of the fresh produce that you get.
Oh, that's good to know because I don't think I've ever
Interesting.
heard that, and I've always wondered if you're eating frozen vegetables. Yeah.
Well, good. That's my route. So
Yeah. Well, I was actually having a
Frozen
smoothie
vegetables.
this morning, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, are these fruits
Yeah.
better? So that's cool.
Yeah.
I bet they're going to be saying it's time for a little commercial break here in a second. So we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back with the Naked Doctor. Hi, welcome back to Naked Doctor. I'm Dr. Tammy.
I'm Lauren.
Allie.
And my tummy growled a little bit right before we went to break. So
It
did. Down there.
All this food talk.
Yeah, I think that is. It got me going.
Well, I had lunch before I came, guys. Came on us.
Something very healthy and
I know I
salady
did.
and-
Monday I do my food prep, but I did it a little early yesterday and did it all on Sunday. So yeah, got it all done, and I have my refrigerator with all the little plastic containers in there that are BPA free for anybody asking.
Plastic. I think food prep is a really important thing. If I go to the store and I make sure I have good stuff in the fridge, it'll get me through all week. I have to plan that out. If I don't, I end up getting junk food. I end up, just whatever's quick and whatever's easy and
But a protein shake is probably going to be the very best
Thanks for that,
fast food
Yep.
that you can get.
Yep.
So it's very quick.
Yeah.
And so when I'm hungry, this is what I do. I love a shake.
And I had it in my smoothie this morning. So
Absolutely.
I had some fruit and some honey and a little bit of coconut almond milk, and it was delicious.
Yummy.
So I actually formulated this. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, this is Dr. T's specialty.
It is.
There are pictures even on it.
Because one of the things I wanted was to make sure that proteins are made of amino acids, and I wanted it to be a complete amino acid picture.
Yes.
And then the other thing I looked for is artificial sweeteners. I did not want artificial sweeteners in here, and we can do a whole show just on artificial sweeteners.
And we should.
We should, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do.
Coming soon.
But there's only 2 grams of sugar in here, so if you're
nice.
if you're trying to keep under, 45 grams of sugar, which is
Or
what
less.
most people or less
That's
can
more for a
tolerate.
guy, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's more like 30 grams of sugar for a female. That's not that much. If you're gonna have a smoothie or some coconut almond milk, that's gonna add a little bit to it. But having like stevia in here and all natural flavor, that's really important to me. So a lot of the protein shakes you have to watch for.
Yeah, they can be just totally bombed with sugars.
Those ones
Yeah.
that are really, really
The ones-
delicious.
Yeah. And
Those are
see,
the ones
to me,
we're talking
I
about.
like
they're
that
the
because
bad I know
ones.
that it's too sweet.
yeah.
So I'm more of a savory tongue.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, totally.
Because I'm detoxed off of sugar.
You know what? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and plus the ones that are really full of that sugar and just the extra stuff are super thick. They're
Yeah,
thicker.
that's a good
Oh,
point.
this blends really nicely.
Yeah, it does. So
Yeah,
talk
that's a
to
big
me
one
about
for this,
the formulation.
So anyway, it's a really good protein, and one of the things is cheap protein powders actually can break down in the way they make the hydrolysate into MSG. So some people get headaches from
Wow.
protein powders.
I can't
because-
do MSG.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
So
It
some
does
cheap
what,
protein
repeat that?
powders will break down the way in the processing.
Okay.
It actually breaks down in monosodium glutamate, which is the stuff that's found in Chinese food that gives people
Yeah,
headaches.
and then
But
you
so
can
how
get like an upset stomach too.
So how do you know?
That's
How can you differentiate? How do you know if that's
Well, actually, it's worse in some vegetable proteins like pea proteins and things like that. If they're made cheaply, it's kind of that process where they make the hydrolysate that they're a little bit more prone. So whey proteins are a little less likely to do that, but they can do that. So if you get a headache when you have your protein powder, that's probably
what it
not one
is.
that's working
Okay.
for
And
you.
so whey is a dairy.
Well, it is, but if you there's hydrolysate and isolate. So if you get the hydrolysate, the really purified protein,
filtered.
It's filtered. And so when we do food sensitivities and we identify milk sensitivities in people, that's usually a casein sensitivity, which is a different protein. You still couldn't do probably a cheaper version of a whey protein, but a hydrolysate you could because it's a purified protein.
So I do a pea protein. That's what I'm.
Yeah, as long
that's
as
what
you're
I
not
do.
sensitive to peas, you'd probably be
No,
okay
I
on
live
your
with
food
peas.
sensitivities.
They like me.
peas?
I do.
So I just want to give a couple more plugs to a couple
Yes.
different things. Lauren was getting a mixed shot at the beginning of this show, and this is a
Love
B12 shot. And it's funny because our grandparents used to get B12 shots all the time, and doctors really got away from that because they're like, oh, you get it in your food. But a lot of the times people are very B12 deficient. If you have low energy, weight gain, so a lot of people use these in our office for weight loss because it's also got 3 different amino acids, more amino acids that actually help with fat burning. We call that lipotrophic fat burners: methionine, inositol, and choline. And so those are just 3 different amino acids that help with weight
And
loss.
it does address belly fat, right?
Yeah.
More typically, yeah.
Yeah, I won't even go into all the science about that, but we'll do another show on that. But these are great and they help with energy. And a lot of times if you have stomach issues or low stomach acid, you can't absorb your B12. A lot of people take the purple pills and stuff, and their
Yes.
stomach acid's off. So these
And
are great.
that's a once a week thing, right?
Yeah, usually, yeah. And then we do vitamin IV. So I didn't have the whole IV out, but we do.
This saved my life a couple of times.
Oh yeah, they're
I mean,
amazing. Especially if
indeed,
you're
yeah.
sick or you can do different cocktails. There's cancer cocktails. There's hangover cocktails.
I was just about to say, it'd be nice if we could have like a, hangover cure.
Yeah.
Well, we did have a nurse practitioner once who was military, and she said they would come in after,
Oh yeah, Benjura.
Yeah, and then that's
they
what
do a lot of
did,
this
and
in
hook each other
Vegas,
up.
Las
Yeah.
Vegas. Yeah.
Oh.
So our regular cocktail, our Myers cocktail that we use for the
when I was ill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for when you're ill or immune system boosting. Like when I go get on an airplane, I usually always try to get one before I go. Because,
Really?
Yeah.
Because it flying makes you
Because
sick?
there are all those germs.
Oh,
up there
oh,
in
okay.
a
And all
closed
that
space.
recirculated air.
Yeah.
Blah.
That's
So
my favorite.
we put 17 grams of vitamin C in our Myers cocktail, which is equivalent to about 70 oranges. Which you would never be able to tolerate.
Minus
all that
the sugar.
And so,
Oh, wow.
really, about 4 grams of vitamin C is all the stomach can tolerate before you start to get stomach upset. We're putting 17 grams in the IV, so it goes straight into the vein. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't
We
affect
don't-
your stomach anyway.
Yeah.
You don't have
Yeah,
the
exactly.
tummy issues.
Wait, so
like
how
that.
much should you have a day? How much vitamin C?
I take about 4 grams of vitamin C a day.
You
I
do?
try to split it. I had a lady one time who looked really super young, and she told me that was her secret. So I'm pretty avid about vitamin C.
And vitamin
and I
C
didn't
is
get
in a
sick
lot of
through that
skincare.
whole
Vitamin C. yes.
season when everybody was getting sick
Yeah.
this last winter. I didn't get sick at all.
Yeah.
I'm putting
Not
that on my
good. I
list.
guess
Me
we're on
too.
the
I'm going
edge,
to add
but-
that. But like I was saying, that vitamin C is in a lot of skincare. It has some
okay.
skincare
Important.
benefits.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Got to keep that skin young. So this is my metabolic pack, and I actually formulated this based on what everybody needs kind of for their basic metabolism. And so it's got a few vitamins like D3 in it. It doesn't have, a lot of times people are very vitamin D deficient, so they have to take quite a bit more.
Me.
Like pretty much 100% of
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, everybody's deficient and they need high doses sometimes. It's got iodine, which helps your thyroid work better, and it's got the right amount. So many people are iodine deficient. It's crazy. It's got a little bit of B12, which is really well absorbed. So if you're taking this, you probably don't need the B12 shots unless you just want a boost. It's got magnesium. Everybody's magnesium deficient. Even
not
if
me.
we ate from the Garden of Eden, it's like depleted in the soil, so it's really hard to get enough magnesium.
Fascinating to read about magnesium. So good for so many things.
Yeah.
Heart, everything.
Everything. It's got some chromium in there, which is very good for sugar metabolism or insulin metabolism. And then some fish oil, which is just great for immune system, anti-inflammatory, all
Yes,
sorts
indeed.
of things. So this is like the basics. And a lot of times people, unless they eat a lot of fish, aren't getting the fish oil unless they're eating certain foods that have magnesium and chromium and stuff like that, which are green leafy vegetables mostly. Those things aren't usually fortified or put back into the food supply. So essential things that we're not getting that the government's kind of overlooking.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
Stealing all of our
it was
vitamins.
1968 the last time the FDA updated what we needed for our bodies.
What?
1968 was the last time they evaluated this. So
Really?
we've changed. We're not eating as many vegetables as we were eating back in 1968. So it's a different game now. So everybody's deficient
Solve it.
in a lot of things they didn't even know about.
Well,
Yeah.
and there are 77,000 new chemicals that are added into our world since
Exactly.
the 1940s.
No big
Exactly.
deal. No big deal.
Yeah.
Which is a good lead in because methylfolate is a liver
Yeah.
detoxifier, and I can do a whole show just on methylfolate. Not the same thing as folic acid. Actually, folic acid can be detrimental if you have a genetic defect where you can't process
Folic acid is the devil.
And it's in
Can be.
everything. Yeah.
Well, and we need folic acid.
Well, it's,
Folate. Yeah, folic acid is a synthetic artificial version
Of folate?
of B vitamin B9, which is folate.
which are in
And
greens.
foliage. Yeah, exactly.
Which is crazy because, like, when I had my daughter, it was like the first thing that everyone was like, "Oh, go get some folic acid. You have to have folic acid." So, like, I'm
yeah.
over here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
That's
taking-
right.
so-
That's it.
yeah.
They had me take that when
Because they say
in prenatal.
Yeah,
it's
because
supposed
they-
to help with birth defects.
And if you don't
Yeah.
have the genetic defect where you can't process it, you're probably okay with folic acid.
Okay.
But, I wrote a book on miscarriages and women with hormone issues. They can't process the folic acid. It's actually detrimental. But I call this already been chewed ABC folate because it's already processed. So the L-methylfolate form is what your body needs when you have that genetic
and
defect.
methylated, for those of us, define.
Methylated a lot of times they use chelators, which attach onto the vitamin, so it's absorbed better. So methyl groups are just a carbon, hydrogen, oxygen group, and so when they put that methyl group on there, it's absorbed better. So you'll see methyl B12 or methylfolate, which are much better than, like cyanocobalamin is actually cyanide, but it has a really long shelf life. So a lot of times when people take cheap B12, they're getting cyanide. So I always use methyl B12, I use methylfolate.
And chelated iron.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to talk about that in the whiteboard segment, but the iron that they fortify in food is actually not elemental iron, it's metallic iron. So we can't even absorb it. It's crazy. So I just want to get a couple quick things in. Probiotics, I think they're super important.
Yeah, can't live without that.
Yeah. Keep your, the people who are overweight and the people who are thin have different bacteria in their gut, and this can make a big difference if you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to maintain weight or you're just trying to have a good healthy gut. And then I love this. I also formulated this. It's called Reclaim Calm. And this is great for people who have anxiety. It's and I won't even go to all the science about that, but the guy who did AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, actually wanted to incorporate niacin because there's some brain chemistry that niacin calms an agitated, anxious brain. So I put this together with some magnesium and some fish oil, and it's all things calm. If you have a kiddo who has attention deficit with the hyperactivity, this is a great thing.
You said niacin. Were you saying that niacin makes people calm?
Can be calming. Can be calming.
Yeah, it's a good vitamin.
Polar opposite is what it does to me.
Oh, really? Well, if you have MTHFR, the genetic defect, and you can't process, you can actually have some wonky chemistry.
Oh man, it makes me want to run my head into a wall.
You want a slow release niacin if you flush, not an immediate release.
I just have a no release niacin is.
Just a circle with a hash. No niacin.
That's never fun if you flush. And the higher the dose, the more you're likely to
And so if I were doing, let's just talk about how I would put all this together. So I would start with my
protein powder.
Or wouldn't I do my? I would do my probiotic first
in the morning. Yeah, your probiotic
on an empty stomach first. Yeah. And then I want to take my vitamins with food.
Oh, I take these. Oh, sorry. I take these at bedtime. Yeah.
You take them at bedtime.
Yeah, because it's got the fish oil in it. And sometimes if people burp up a little fishy taste, it's better to take it at bedtime.
I don't want that at bedtime either.
You said probiotic that you would take that.
I take that on
empty stomach. Okay.
First thing. Yeah. Yep. And then you do your shake. And you're getting all your stuff going, and then. Is there some overlap in the Reclaim that is in my my Metabolic Pack?
A little bit, but I mean, I have people who have arthritis take a ton of fish oil because it's a great anti-inflammatory. I have people take 6 capsules a day, so all total, you're still only getting 2 fish oil a day there, so you'd be fine. And one of the things I'm going to talk about in the whiteboard segment is you can actually overdose, especially children, from vitamin A being fortified in the food. And again, because the FDA has not updated their criteria, they haven't really, and then kids eat more than one serving usually, right? When we were kids, like you didn't just have a bowl of cereal, you had a bowl of cereal.
Jethro bowl, we called it. The little small
bowl
ones.
Until the bowl.
So you're not just getting one serving.
So the milk was gone?
You skip out cereal.
I'll take another bowl.
God, I do miss. That's one of the things I do miss is cereal.
But cereal makes me feel
I love it. I love the crunch and just the whole
thing. I love
it.
It tastes delicious, but it makes me feel weird. It makes me...
Oh, probably because food's sensitive.
It has forever. It always has. It's
so
totally
much
worth
junk
it.
In there.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
All right, I think they're saying it's probably time for a little commercial break, so we're going to take a little break and we'll be right back with the Naked Doctor. Hi, welcome back to Naked Doctor. This is our whiteboard segment, which is actually our blackboard segment now. I'm going to talk a little bit about fortified foods because sometimes people say, well, do I need supplements? But the food's fortified. So I want to kind of explain that a little bit. Even with fortified foods, meaning supplements in our food supply, it's been estimated that 2 billion people have micronutrient deficiency. So we might not even have big deficiencies like vitamin D or the B12, but the micronutrients can be deficient and that can be a problem. So I want to explain the difference between fortified and enriched. So fortified foods are foods that have nutrients that are added that are not naturally occurring in that particular food. So like when they put vitamin D in milk, and I could do a whole video on milk and the pasteurization process. So I always tell people, don't try to get your vitamin D from milk. That's one of the worst sources that you can get it from, unless you're drinking some kind of whole milk that's not been denatured or processed. Juice with calcium, I mean, fruit doesn't normally have calcium in it, so that would be an example of fortified, things that are added in that are naturally in there. Enriched is a term that we use in the food supply, in the food industry. You know, this actually started to try to help us because we had so many micronutrient deficiencies. You know, kids were getting goiters with iodine deficiency, and so all sorts of problems were cropping up. Folate deficiencies, we started to see things like spina bifida, which actually I could do a whole video on the difference between methylfolate and folic acid. So sometimes things that are enriched in our food supply are not natural. It's a metallic iron instead of a elemental iron, and so that can be a real problem when we're trying to absorb our nutrients, when it's just cheap stuff or it's not the right stuff. It's produced in mass supply. So I think the FDA probably was trying to help us, and the food scientists were trying to help us, but we've just created a whole lot of problem. And the FDA has not updated since 1968 their criteria for what we need. So you know, that can be a real problem because we're going on old data. We're going on old data before our food supply changed, and we were actually eating more vegetables. So all of that can be a problem. But enriched means that nutrients are lost during the processing of the food, so like the pasteurization of milk, or through different things like especially wheats, grains, breads. The wheat grain is actually broken down, and then things are enriched or added back in. So you'll see the term enriched wheat. And a lot of times these are enriched with cheap supplements, again, like the folic acid and the metallic type iron, so not good. So this is basically a wheat grain. And what happens is there's these different parts. This is the bran part of it. This is the wheat germ, and this is the endosperm. And what they do is they take the endosperm and they actually remove the wheat germ, which has anti-inflammatories, which helps our immune system, and then they remove the other aspects, the fatty acids, because they want it to have a longer shelf life, so they remove the healthy oils, and then they remove this big part that has all the nutrients in it, in the wheat germ, and so all we have is this endosperm. When they break it down into the proteins, which are basically all they have left is gluten and starch. So it's basically just sugar and gluten. And a lot of people have gluten sensitivity, maybe because we're exposed so much to it. But these different proteins like gluten and gliadin are very, very inflammatory to a lot of people's systems. So when you eat enriched bread, it basically means that it's been processed, it's had vitamins that have been added back in, and it's basically just sugar and gluten. So that can be a real problem. So I want to talk about the myths of fortification. A lot of times people think that it makes our children healthier because they're fortifying or they're enriching our food, but it's kind of a false sense away from whole foods, and so they think that if you're eating cereal or whatever, you know, it's got vitamins in it, so they should be fine. But one of the problems is that we eat less vegetables because of that. And also the potential for overdosing of certain vitamins. Zinc can be overdosed, niacin, vitamin A can be overdosed, and folic acid, you know, that's just bad for them anyway instead of folate. And we think that some reports show that upwards towards 50% of kids are overdosed on vitamin A and zinc. So all sorts of issues can crop up from that. Also, we think that it makes adults healthier, but actually we don't get enough of certain vitamins because adults kind of minimize their calories sometimes, or they eat too much of those junk foods that are fortified with, you know, kind of the wrong things, and we need more of certain vitamins as well. And they're, you know, when we're eating less portions and things like that, sometimes that can be a problem as well. Magnesium is terribly deficient in most people's diet. Most people don't get enough. They get migraine headaches, muscle aches, muscle spasms, soreness, chronic fatigue, chronic pain. So constipation is huge, and most people just need more fiber and more magnesium. So if you have any trouble with constipation, don't go get on a drug for that or take medicine. All you need is probably magnesium. So I always tell people, take enough magnesium until your stools are soft. So pregnant women also can overdose on some of these vitamins. There's the whole folic acid argument. So lots of different things. So it's all about knowing your science, knowing how to stay healthy, knowing what you need, knowing that you could get too much, and knowing what this processing is actually doing. All right, hope that was helpful. We'll see you back here in just a minute on The Naked Doctor. We've had a great show today. Hope you've enjoyed it. All things supplements, including vitamins, minerals, nutrients, all sorts of stuff. Hope you learned something new.
Yeah, and there's just so much. Thanks for breaking it down. There's just so much. People get so confused. People ask me all the time about supplements, and it's so confusing. There's just so much information out there, and I like that you put it succinctly. That's just kind of all in one packet, and I don't have to think about it. I like that.
It's like, even as someone who has been involved with like the fitness world and been an athlete my whole life, like there is so much I don't know, that I'm still like,
what you need. Well, that's why I say get lab testing, because until you get lab testing, you don't even really know what you're deficient in. And we do hair analysis testing to see what micronutrients you're deficient in. And that's really telling. I mean, for me, that when I got that, because I thought I was taking everything I was supposed to.
She's like, I'm good. Oh, wait, what am I missing? No. Oh, that too.
Oh, one thing I didn't mention, because I said we were going to cover this in the show, is how to know if it's a quality vitamin. Don't get your stuff at, I'm probably going to get in trouble, at cheap department stores. Go to a nice health food store. We have a company called Metagenics, and you can go to metagenics.com, little plug for them. I also use a company called Nutrinalis. I love their stuff. I use their brain booster, some of their gut health stuff.
What was that one?
Nutrinalis.
Is that what you get on Amazon?
Nutrinalis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nutrinilis. And you can put a little link, maybe, a little slug or something under there, so you can know. And just go with companies that you trust who do the right testing. And I won't even go into all the details because I'll just bore you. And you can go online and look at all the different testing to make sure that it's quality and quality controlled. And there was a big thing not too long ago about some of the big chain department stores. They were testing that stuff. It was fillers, latex in there, and then the actual vitamins weren't even in there that they were, or minerals that they were touting that were in there weren't even in there.
It's not very regulated. I don't think they really have to subscribe
they don't have to,
FDA
and they can say
standards.
anything. Yeah,
they can. They really
it's like
can.
the food industry. They can say anything on the label. It can be
any kind of health claim.
Red colored liquid, and if it looks like fruit juice, they can call it fruit juice. So just do your homework. Know your stuff. We've had a wonderful show. Thank you so much. Watch us on The Naked Doctor. We have Facebook page, YouTube, under Dr. Tammy Tucker on YouTube, right? You can watch all our old shows. Somebody just messaged me today and said, I saw your beauty segment on white teeth and what's that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, go watch our YouTube channel and you can find it there. And we usually post the shows at least by the following week.
Yeah. So if you miss anything this show or want to, listen to, there was a lot of information, a lot of big words said today. So if you want to, go back and listen again.
Slow it down. Transcript.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to need to do that a couple times at least. But yeah, you can go on the Facebook page and check us out there, The Naked Doctor. Like us, send us a message if you need anything, if you have any questions, or if you want to come in and get some coaching or some, get some supplements and
test it, get tested, see what you need.
Yep.
Everybody needs to test. We'll be glad to help you.
All right, we love y'all. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week on The Naked Doctor.
Thanks for watching.